All right, everybody, I am back with a brand new DC update. And wow, this last week or the last 3 or 4 days have been really interesting on social media after the reveal of Superman's suit. And it's pretty crazy because James Gunn himself has gone dark. He hasn't posted anything since posting that suit. And I will tell you that by far the majority of the response has been negative. No matter what I say or what anybody else says or thinks, the reception was not good. It was picked up by lots of different people. And so this does not bode well for Warner Brothers. Now, I want to make something very clear. Some people have tried to come out and call me out on the sale of Warner Brothers and some other things that I've mentioned in the past. First of all, I never said a sale was 100% going to happen. I still believe it is going to happen. I just don't know the timetable. And I can tell you right now, Warner Brothers is going to hold out until Superman gets released to see what kind of a reception it gets. They're at least going to try to hold on till then if there isn't some sort of hostile takeover, because their stocks are still hovering around $7. They are in bad shape, guys. And some of the stuff I'm going to show you today is going to show you how they're trying to lean into some existing properties to try and save them, but it is not going to work. The company is a lot more than just movies, and they are hinging everything on their movies. And the company cannot function that way. It just can't. And they think that they're going to save themselves. It's just not going to work. But let's take a look at some of the stuff I've grabbed today. There's one thing I'm excited to show. But let's take a look at some of these photos. Now, one thing I wanted to show you guys here that is trending is don't stream on Max. Fire David Zaslav. They have their Q1 investor call today, and I'm sure we're going to get some information out of that. But you can see some of the stuff that they just do a search for that hashtag, and you'll see some of the nefarious things that this company is doing and how they treat their properties. And we're going to look at some stuff here today. First up, this shows the desperation of Warner Brothers. And it says, Warner Brothers to release first new Lord of the Rings in 2026, currently in early script development. Okay, we're in the middle of 2024, and they expect to release a new Lord of the Rings in 2026? Really? Really? This is the same year that the Batman 2 is supposed to come out, and the Batman 2 has been in development for a lot longer than this movie has. And they think they're going to get a good Lord of the Rings movie out by 2026, and it is all supposed to revolve around the search. It's called The Search for Gollum. Really? Really? Again, there's some desperation going on. Now, this has to do with the Don't Stream on Max movement. It says all the evidence suggests that OFMD Season 3 was in pre-production when it was unceremoniously canceled. I can't imagine how devastating that must have been for the cast and crew. No one deserves to be treated that way. Now, granted, I never watched this show. All right, it looked interesting, but one of the trailers, I was like, I didn't even know they'd had 2 seasons. But they don't promote their stuff, and that's kind of the point that these people are making, is that they don't stand behind the content that they have, and they're making their own business suffer and the way they treat everybody. David Zaslav is a horrible CEO. Again, it's absolutely baffling to us that Max and Warner Brothers Discovery are still refusing to promote their own content. It shouldn't fall on creators and fans to run marketing and publicity campaigns and then be punished when the numbers aren't there. So, again, this has to do with another show. I don't know what this show is, but people are upset. It is trending, and that's not just... Guys, I can't even tell you how bad this is. And we're going to see what the investor call today. Well, it's their earnings report. It's not an investor call. It's their earnings report for Q1. We're going to see what they have to say and what news comes out of that. But after the last one, the investors were all over the media circuit talking about how Warner Brothers does not have a plan to get out of the situation that they are in, and that they're leaning on specifically DC properties, which is asinine. All right, now here's something I really wanted to show. I think this is very cool here. we have Entertainment Weekly put out the first official look at Batman Caped Crusader, which is going to be premiering on Amazon. And boy, I like the look of this. Now, hopefully they're not running at a crazy low frames per second. Hopefully they're not running at something super low in the teens. But if this is done well, this looks like a true legitimate successor, spiritual successor to Batman the Animated Series. Here's an actual photo of Batman himself. They are definitely leaning into the original, look of the original costume, but keeping it still at least decent looking, which is pretty cool. I'm excited to see this when it does finally get released. Something I'm actually excited for. Now I wanted to hop over to James Gunn's account. So you can see a couple of days ago they released the Superman costume. I'm going to refresh this and we're going to see if he's posted anything. Nope, that's it. That's all he's posted, guys. He's gone dark. And I want to talk about what this could possibly mean for the future. All right, so first of all, Warner Brothers Discovery is leaning into Harry Potter. They're leaning into The Matrix. They're leaning into Lord of the Rings. They're leaning into all of these properties without giving us anything new and exciting, all right? And even with the content that they're creating, it's not really stuff people are asking for. I don't think anybody asked for a Gollum movie. I just don't. And Andy Serkis is supposed to be directing and Peter Jackson is supposed to be producing. And they're going to lean heavily on Peter Jackson's name. Just watch. And they do have J.K. Rowling on board for the new show that they're going to be doing on HBO Max in regards to each book being a season for Harry Potter. So they're leaning into these properties thinking these things are going to save them. Now, as far as James Gunn going dark after producing that suit or showing that photo, guys, it's not a good look. I can't tell people. First of all, people are saying that I hope that the DCU fails and that I'm just giddy over its failures and I want it to not succeed. Quite frankly, I don't care at this point. I just don't care. They have destroyed these properties. I go into every single movie completely as a blank slate, and I am always going to give you my honest opinion on those movies, regardless of what company was behind it, regardless of who directed it. And, a lot of people were trying to jump on me on social media about Furiosa coming out, and they're like, that's a Warner Brothers movie. What happened to the boycott? I am not doing a boycott. I never said I was going to do a boycott. I do support people who are doing a boycott. I'm all for it because these companies are not giving us what we want. But I am a review channel, and I will be reviewing things as they get released. Am I excited for Superman? Heck, no, I am not. I don't think they're going to be able to top Man of Steel. We already had a Superman, a guy who wanted to play him and was perfectly willing to play him, and the fans wanted to see him back, and you take him away. Everything reeks cheap. It reeks desperation. And I don't think this is going to turn out well for them. And the fact that James Gunn has gone dark shows you something. He hasn't come out and said, thanks for all the support. The reception was awesome, because they can't. There's no way they can justify what they released as a first look. It's a poor first look. You have one chance to make a first impression, and that was a very, very, very poor first impression. What this means for the future? Well, hopefully they can make some changes. Hopefully they're early enough in the production that they could change the costume if they have to. I don't know who thought it was a good idea to start pulling stuff from the MCU. I know they're keeping the same, designers and stuff, but you can't make it look like the MCU. You can't have the costumes look like it's the MCU. We didn't bring him over here to bring the MCU with him. He was supposed to be focused on DC-specific stuff, not taking stuff from another universe and bringing it over here. And so I don't know what they are going to be trying to prove with this. And we have seen studios react to backlash before, the biggest being with Sonic the Hedgehog. They came out with a terrible design. People complained, and they were able to go in and fix it. It delayed the movie, but they did fix it, and now that franchise is doing really well for Sony. I believe it's Sony who's doing it. I don't remember exactly who's behind it, but I've only ever seen the first film. I didn't see the second, and I think there's a third one or a fourth one coming out. But that franchise is doing well, and it's all because they changed the design, because they understood that that's not what the fans wanted, and it was going to receive some backlash. Well, they've definitely received that backlash from the Superman suit, and I really hope it's something that can be corrected. I hope it's taken out of context. I'm not hoping that the movie fails, but I got to be honest with you guys. I'm not going in with very high expectations because of who James Gunn is. I've seen most of his stuff, and it's not stuff that I want to see. I don't want to see the DC property controlled by a guy like him. I just don't. But if the movie comes out and ends up being phenomenal, I will tell you. If it's crap, I'll tell you. I'm going to be 100% honest in my assessment, regardless of who's behind it or who did it. And now I am going to have a separate video coming out later today in regards to Rebel Moon. There's just a lot of nonsense of people talking about Rebel Moon out there, and there was a big drop in week 2 of the views. And I'm going to talk about the views and what this means for that universe going forward as well. So look for that video later today. All right, guys, we will see you on the next video.